I think I finished last episode weirdly abruptly, so not entirely sure where we're at. I guess we're grabbing items. All right, let's go grab items. We might actually finish today. Not the whole thing, because again, I want to do the weapons. I think Emerald Weapon especially is a fun fight. Um, the way I tend to do Ruby Weapon is perhaps not a fun fight. Man, it's being really jerky. One sec, I'm gonna close out of another program. That should help. I should have done that before starting. What a fool. Okay. Are you saved? Anyway, we're in the final dungeon. We are approaching our chief villains, Sephiroth and Genova, in, whatever order of priority you think they are. It's kind of interesting that we think of Sephiroth as the main villain, and that's in part, and it's correct, but it's also in part because Sephiroth has been the character we've met throughout, who has been relevant throughout. But in fact, every time we've met Sephiroth has been Genova, except in flashbacks and except briefly as Cloud hands over the black materia at the very reaching of the northern crater. But other stuff was also clearly like, even before that, when we go to the northern crater, we're clearly talking not to Sephiroth himself, but to Genova. But Genova is talking as Sephiroth. And so this isn't really an important thing to get bogged down by, but hopefully that's working a little less jerky. But Sephiroth here is either. That's not right. Did I move elixirs in the menu? I did not. All right, we should do that. But anyways, either Sephiroth clearly controls Genova at this point, is the controlling force, or Genova is manipulating Sephiroth's memories for purpose of messing with us, I guess. It makes a lot less sense that way. The Genova is the controlling force theory, I think, is not a very compelling one in the end. But I'm always happy to have people have such types of theories. It just, I don't think this one is the case. All right, we should move. We should move elixir in the menu. That's what we should do. That's something useful we can do. We Nope. Oh my god, what have I done? I was like, don't press the one that rearranges it stupidly, and then I pressed the one that rearranged it stupidly. On the other hand, this reminds me we have a mind source, so we'll give that to Cloud. And okay, what do we need? We need elixirs. We need tranquilizers. We don't need any of this. I want spider webs. And I want dazers. And vaccines might come in handy. We got these, and now we want to find dazers. Sorry that this has now happened like 4 times that I've had to rearrange here. Okay. Save crystal is not needed here. We can heal. We can heal from death. We can give to those things. We can make Tifa sad. This is apparently what we want to do. And we have stuff for slowing and paralyzing enemies. Okay, I think that's all we'll need. So yeah, let's see how far we can get in this final dungeon. Move everything slightly. There's an enemy in this dungeon that the first time it dies uses, I think I mentioned this last time, uses an enemy skill, and it's the only time you can learn that enemy skill in the entire game. And if you do not learn it there, you don't get it. That's a bit silly. Man, Tifa's so good. 14,000, just casually. And she's back row and sadness and gets to counter, right? So she has like the best protection you can get from damage while increasing her damage output. I'm curious if anyone's done this, the Yoshiyuki on Cloud, if it gives anywhere near as big a boost, then like solo Cloud would be a kind of fun way to play the game, right? Because Cloud would get such a big damage output boost that you're fine with the other characters down. As I've said before, my last time through this game was a solo Tifa run, and it was not particularly challenging because Tifa's just a powerhouse, right? Ooh, that's the most damage we've done in a turn. That was what, like 19,700 ish? Man, Tifa's great. I do wish you could set the combo up earlier. Admittedly, the combo is like too powerful, and thus, we might argue. So we're definitely going to start leveling up this materia we just got. So when you're hit, it counters with the paired materia. So yeah, I think it counters with like magic type stuff. I don't remember exactly how it works. I should probably figure this out. But for instance, if I swap it with MP Turbo here, let's say I put MP Turbo over here just to keep leveling it. When Cloud is hit, he should reply with automatic fire. Um, so but it's when he's hit by spells, right? So this is, or maybe it's when damage is incurred in general, because counterattack is specifically on physical attacks, and this one applies more broadly and is thus more useful against kind of super boss type stuff. Just spotted this up here, which I forgot about. W magic, right, lets us double cast. This might be vaguely useful on Nanaki, but it's certainly not that big a deal. Let's swap out Destruct, and it'll probably come back on when we finish leveling up the Restore Materia. I like maxing out Materia. There's not much need to do it, but it's one of those places where I actually do have completionist instincts, which you may have noticed. I tend to. I used to have a lot more strongly, but I tend to fight now because I just enjoy games more when I don't play that way. But mastering Materia when you're so close feels like just, of course, I'm going to do it. Now, this enemy sadly applies sadness to us. So when I forgot Tifa needs to be sad earlier. So yeah, Master Fist is definitely an upgrade on the Power Soul. But as soon as Tifa gets the Power Soul Cursed Ring set up, she's very powerful. Oh, I should mention, I don't know how effective this is, but in the Cave of the Gi, I suspect this is good strategy. In the Cave of the Gi, you can learn enemy skill death sentence. So you have a way, we're going to run away from this. You have a way to apply death sentence to Tifa way before I did, right? Because I waited for the cursed ring. Now the cursed ring gives a substantial damage boost. So I don't know how much weaker she'd be without the stat boost of the cursed ring. However, without that stat boost, you'd still have 60 seconds of it. You'd be able to control when the 60 seconds happen. It wouldn't be right at the start of the fight. So you could be ready to make sure she has next turn, right? And can queue up usefully. So I think there's a case that I should actually, for efficiency's sake, it's a little slow to menu, but especially for bosses, we should be using this setup earlier. We should have Tifa with the Power Soul just from right when you get the Power Soul in Nibelheim. If I've inspired anyone to try this, maybe consider doing this. Put the Power Soul on as soon as you get it in the mountains, right before Materia Keeper, and just cast Death Sentence on her and have her go off. She won't be as powerful, but enemies are weaker. And if you do that, that gives you access to this, for instance, for Demon Wall, which is a boss people find tricky, and I wonder if her damage output just makes that fight kind of trivial. It's possible, right? So I don't know. That would be worth exploring. I'm kind of a no. I can't go just play the game again. Let's explore this way and then come back, and then we'll get all our party together, and then we'll, I guess, save and do the final sequences. But I'm gonna grab all the stuff down the other branches. So you can see there's something hovering on that little platform to the right that we automatically jumped past. I think if you press confirm at the right time, you can grab that. So we're gonna go try to do that for a bit. I should also remember to use the speed source we just got. Man, Tifa's so good, so good. Like obviously, if you stat farm or you get to level 99, you can get other characters to be doing damage that she's doing, but you have to put so much more work and time into that, right? There we go. So I think we have to be jumping this way, and I have to. I think it's only when angled this way. All right. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna save state here, and I don't actually. I think this is how you get it, but maybe I can't match. Maybe I should be matching more. Oh, there we go. Okay, that's great. So the Mega All materia, um, as I recall, applies attack all to every action a character does. So right now, Tifa death blows one target. However, cover's not doing much at this point. If we swap out cover for Mega All, I believe Tifa will start hitting everything and you know clearing enemies even better. A lot of really nice materia in the final dungeon. Definitely like makes it easier to go grab this stuff before doing other challenges. But a lot of the nice materia in the final dungeon is not very relevant to the super bosses. Like these aren't things that really break those, but they are quite useful if you want to go do Battle Square. Maybe after super bosses we'll do some Battle Square. It's a weird order because normally people use the rewards from Battle Square to do the super bosses, but I make weird decisions. That's okay. And maybe I won't do it. I used to really like Battle Square, but I forget how long it takes before they let you choose which character um, you're using. Like you have to use Cloud, I believe. Am I remembering wrong? I think I'm remembering wrong. It's Chocobo Square where eventually I think you can let Tifa race, but Battle Square maybe you can choose from the outset which character to use. I'm not remembering. We'll go. We will check that out. I think. So our our bucket list here is beat the game, then go beat the super bosses, then go do Battle Square a bit, just to show what that looks like. We'll probably be too powerful at that point for that. Again, this is not the traditional order, but yeah, you can see her death blow is now an all hitting move. Also, her counterattack is so good. Yeah, I feel like the latter third of this game has been a talking about story elements and then b just talking about how powerful you can make Tifa. But that's okay. What else would we want to talk about? I was actually thinking recently that in some ways the game with the most similar story to FF7, because like you could view FF7 story lots of different ways, right? One is there's this really long history of the world, going back 2,000 years to Genova, but there are lots of events before the start of the game that are really relevant to the game. Most of the characters have some kind of backstory, even Yuffie with Wutai, which again we didn't do because I'm lazy. But most characters have some backstory. Vincent's, for instance, is very tied to the story of the game, right? And so there's this kind of long scale of events, and then the more immediate story is Shinra is destroying the planet, and we have to stop them. And then it turns out Sephiroth is an even greater threat to the planet. And there's of course stuff along the way. There's different interactions, but the broader story is like, told that way is not very complicated. The specific methods of destroying the planet, Shinra's is sort of extractive capitalism, and Sephiroth's is sort of uh, supernatural ultimate power kind of thing, right? So they are different genres of destruction, and like often happens in RPGs, You have a more kind of proximate, immediate form of destruction, and then you have supernatural, superpower destruction that shows up behind that and is the greater threat, right? FF8, there are some powers immediately trying to take over, and then when the final boss shows up, they have this sort of broader control everything kind of objective. Now, you could argue that was the objective all along, but it wasn't the apparent objective to us, the player. Maybe the classic example is something like Legend of Dragoon, because Legend of Dragoon was very much Sony trying to be like, okay, let's do an in-house Final Fantasy, see if we can, you know, have something this popular that we're not that's in our own studios and we control all the IP of, right? So that game, you start with, okay, there's a evil emperor, right? And that's the threat. And as the game moves on, it ends up being this like 12,000-year-old story of the kind of evolution of everything. And okay, so we've now gone that way and this way, so we still have to go to the right though. And so it becomes this broader story, but the broader story, like, it's very much, here is a local threat. Okay, it's actually bigger than we thought it was. Okay, once again, it's bigger than we thought it was. And that tends to be how RPGs develop their stories. Man, I haven't given Piggyman any HP ups. So you can see Tifa now, it's everything. But you can also see her damage was reduced. And this is because Mega All has the same effect as All, where it hits everything but at 2/3 damage. This is clearly a damage boost, right? If there's two enemies, then hitting at 2/3 damage will, of course, do a net of 4/3 damage, which is more than the usual 100% or 3/3 damage. And if there's more than two enemies, it becomes vastly superior. You're doing at least double total damage. But it does mean if there's a specific target that is the big threat, and you're trying to like get something down quickly, and there are two targets, there could be reason that all would be slightly worse than being able to focus fire. But for the most part, not not a problem, and all is a boost. But some games, things like that work. Hit everything is just a pure boost, and here it does mix. It does have slightly mixed benefits. This is one of the also, just when we see Piggyman attack, like, Piggyman isn't particularly built for attack, but in this game, mostly characters aren't built to do anything. So, it's a reasonable comparison. Like, he has a bunch of magic on him, so his damage is lower. But it is wild to compare, like, Piggyman is just, normal setup, and he's doing 1,000 a turn at the same level as Tifa, who's doing 15,000 a turn. Really speaks to how powerful she is. Just how untouchable. I feel like we got something useful from that chest, but now I've forgotten what it was. I was going to do something with it. What could it have been? Was it a source? Might have been a source. Oh, it was a misstyle. Yeah, misstyles are just about the best armor in the game. Uh, very good stats, good materia slots. Maybe we can actually give you some HP plus. Alright, what do we actually want to level up? There's nothing in particular we need, but let's try to max some things out that we made a little progress on. See where we land. Nothing too important there. Alright. How are we doing? Weird to have a map change there, right? When you can see the next map on screen. And you can see like the treasure chest, and you think for half a second, I missed it, right? I didn't get access, but actually. Oh, we haven't fought these yet, I don't think. They might have some kind of a death all. Let's manipulate one of them, see what happens. Yeah, I think they have a reaction when they die here that hopefully doesn't kill anyone. Alright, well, killing Cloud's fine, as long as it's not Tifa. And we learned an enemy skill. Nice. Also, if they both do this before dying, they can kill two of us, but they cannot game over us. Or as a reaction. We will not, of course, be fighting those again because it's annoying to revive characters. So yeah, I think this one today we're gonna end up. Here's the schedule. Here's the schedule. Today we finish doing this and probably don't complete the final boss. Next time we beat the final boss if we haven't. Then the one after that. Ooh, Malboro. So Malboro is mostly not a threat because we have ribbons on everyone, except for Tifa. So Tifa is the only character who's really in trouble, but the problem is the enemy's in trouble because we have Tifa. So not too big a problem. But Bad Breath is one of the, I think, more iconic things in the FF series, along with Tonberries and Cactuars. I would say Tonberry is the most of the kind of green series of enemies. Tonberry is the most iconic, but your mileage may differ. It could be Malboro. I don't think it's Cactuar. In how I used to play this game, I would like hyper everyone at all times because limit breaks were like, oh my god, so much damage. But we've barely done limit breaks at all this whole time. It really has not been part of this playthrough. For instance, if we look at our limit breaks, you know, level 2 doesn't even have the second one. Okay, she got to level 3, but she hasn't finished up. Cloud, not even level 3 limits. Like, I have, this is so different than how I played as a kid. Like, not only would we have all of Cloud's limits, but we'd have gotten them a long time ago. Alright, so now party meets up. Yo, we're a bit late. And everyone gives, if they went the right way, an item. I didn't put much effort into that, so I'm not sure we'll get very good items, but maybe we'll get something. This is the center of the planet. Alright, Tifa, what's up? Or Sid, I guess. Hey, Cloud, I found this on the way. Speed source. Nice. We can use that. This is it. Here, Cloud. Guard source. Sure, I'll take sources. We finally made it here. Hey, Cloud, I found this. Elixir. Alright. This isn't too impressive. Well, what? Oh, yeah, Yuffie, didn't you find something? No? Oh, alright. Here, Cloud. Last elixir. I think it's just an elixir, but I'm the one who found it, so you better give it back to me when you're done with it. Hold on to this. Another last elixir. I think last elixirs are when they didn't get, like, the better thing they can get. Someone can bring back a misstyle, I think. I think that's the big prize here. That said, of course, we are giving all our stuff to the best character in the game. And at this point, I'm going to save state. I'm not going to save properly. Let's go for it. Let's get going. All right, everyone. Let's mosey. Classic line. Damn, again. Stop saying it like a wimp. Can't you say move out or something? Nah, Cloud is a wimp. Move out. That's such an important part of Cloud. Underrated part of Cloud. What? Look at the number. Oh, I was gonna say, I don't want to get distracted here, but I was gonna say, I was thinking about what game is most similar to FF7, right? Because we have this story that has a bunch of elements. There's a bunch of exploring the world. There's the story of Sephiroth and Tojo and Genova, and then there's the story of Rufus Shinra and his father, the previous president of Shinra, and Heidegger and Scarlet. And then there's the stories of our main characters. Right, there's lots of stories you could say are the central story to things. But I would say Cloud's kind of self-discovery and falsified more than false memories, like actively falsified memories, is really the core of the story. And as I said before, that Sephiroth realizes he was created by Hojo and needs to tell himself some story where he's still the most important, best thing, rather than one of many created monsters. And he reads and he reads and he reads until he decides, I'm an ancient. Genova and I are ancients. And then when he's in the life stream and he gets a lot more knowledge, he learns that isn't true, but he finds some other way to justify, to feel fulfilled, to make himself feel special to himself. And he really has this need for that. And we see it with Cloud as well, where Cloud tells himself, has this story where he's Zack, he made it in Shinra, where, he's mature unlike the other kids, right? He keeps having these stories he tells himself that are stories that make him feel better about who he is and his part in the world. And so it's not so much that he has like amnesia or lost memories, though, that's a little part of it. It's the way in which people tell themselves stories and to some extent become those stories or become molded by those stories, trying to fit into that story, that narrative you've told yourself, that thing you've made part of your identity that you are now trying so hard to hold on to and that you so need to be part of because it's part of your identity. It now hurts so much to lose. And I think that's the core of the story. I think, and it's the thing that I think even more than Cloud and Sephiroth sharing backstory ties them together inextricably is the way they have both told themselves stories to make themselves important, to make themselves feel important. And then the ways in which they have acted differently upon it. And that Cloud has gotten past that in a way that Sephiroth, of course, has not. And that's largely due to Tifa, of course. So I see that as the core of FF7's story. So if you want another story that, if that feels like the story of FF7 to you, and you want another story like that, I was thinking maybe I could play a little of. I don't think I want to play the whole thing, but the game that strikes me as doing the most of that, and it's not the same way. I don't think this is like a big spoiler, and I'm not saying who's has that type of arc within the story because it's a bit hidden and unclear. It's another game that doesn't feel the need to say or show you everything. In fact, I would say it shows you significantly less than FF7 does. And so there's more space to fill stuff in. But the game coming to mind is Vagrant Story, as sharing the elements I consider most core to FF7. And in other ways, it is completely different, right? The feeling of the story, the feeling of the setting, these are not things that I think would necessarily cross over. Like, if you like FF7, you'll like Vagrant Story. If that was the case, Vagrant Story would have been a way bigger hit than it was, especially because it got like the famous 40 out of 40 from Famitsu and good reviews. There's a lot going on there. But it struck me as a game when I was thinking about just a few different of the kind of classic RPGs. It has some stuff in common there. They're coming out in full force. Cloud, you go first. I'm fighting here too. Shut up, it won't do us no good with everyone back here. Barrett's right. You take two of us with you and go first. The rest will catch up with you later. So it's like a practice run before the real thing. Yeah, major practice run. I'm fine with that. Probably more fun than fighting Sephiroth down there. This might be fun to pass time. This is very much the game going. Rest of you hold off monsters while three of you go in for it. They're coming. They're already on the floor next to us. But it's kind of funny because they have to be describing monsters coming because the graphics don't want to show it. And so instead of having like a cutscene of swarms of things coming, because that would be a pain to make and they just didn't produce it, they have this kind of slightly confused sounding dialogue. I wonder if the translation's bad too. But this scene always strikes me as a bit silly. Cloud, hurry up and make your mind. We know our party. Calm down. Calm down. We have the big three. Or, well, the big one and her two sidekicks. Imagine if Tifa could equip this and something that gave her a boost if the other two were knocked out. Like if she had like the combined Power Soul or Master Fist and Yoshiyuki. Oh my god. She would be doing like 20,000 early in the game, if accessible, right? And she can cast Death Sentence on herself. That is a combo she could do in single as well. Though I'm not sure you have a combination of. You get added effect in the Cave of the Gate. So if you have access to Destruct or Odin, you can protect from the death effect at the end. So you can probably protect against this. I think this is the enemy that uses Pandora's Box. Um, we haven't used Regen yet. Let's show off spells that we haven't used. What's Ultima look like? If Tifa hasn't killed it by the time this goes off. I think Tifa just killed it. Ah, Tifa, you're too strong. You've done it again. We're just trying to look at all the different spells. We haven't checked out all of them. What do they look like? Pandora's Box, one of like the grander, more a lot of stuff going on animations in the game. Or I guess not. But we learned it. That's important. I thought it was. I thought there was more to it than just like the question mark in space. Alright, we maxed out another materia. I think Cauldron is one of those items that casts a spell. Let's throw a Mega Elixir on because we have infinite. And what were we going to do? We were going to move the all materia because we finished it. And let's bring a time to the party. Not that this matters too much because there's no going back at this point. That was the point of no return. And yeah. So I think we are going to actually finish the game here. So yeah, I think. Hmm. Nah, it should have its own episode, right? The final sequence, rather than like half an hour of dungeon crawling before we go in. I'm getting a little bit of slowdown on my emulator here. For once, I'm actually recording this from the place where my real copy of FF7 is. Will she counterattack that? She will. Will that kill it? Ah, sadly no. I was hoping she would, get the kill without actually doing anything. It is nice when in a game like Orlando is a famously powerful character in a different Final Fantasy. When the most powerful character is also the one that like happens to be a favorite of yours is a very very I think nice feeling for me at least. All right, we're gonna stop here and we're gonna finish the game next time, and then we're gonna do the weapons, and then we're gonna do I guess maybe Battle Square. I guess we'll do Battle Square. All right, cheers.